The bear. We all know it as an animal, but The Bear is also a phenomenal show with captivating storylines, beautiful cinematography, and complex characters that feel so real that they could honestly be a person that you strike up conversation with on the street. In its sophomore season, The Bear continues the story of a Chicago native who is a brilliant young chef who grapples with balancing the world of fine dining with the weight of grief from the loss of his older brother. He's left to maneuver a world where he must fight for his dream while keeping his brother's dreams alive. In the second season of The Bear, we are introduced to a plethora of new characters, but there is one character that constantly makes his presence known throughout the entire season. And to be honest with you, its existence is one of the most difficult things to ignore: time. In this video, I'm going to discuss how time is his own character in season 2 of The Bear, because every second counts. Okay, so time. Time in season 2 of The Bear presents itself in so many ways. I think that the writers were kind of hinting at this all along. We see time and clock imagery and motifs throughout the entire season. The plate clock in season 2 poster, for example. The digital clocks with red typeface in multiple scenes, or just clocks in general. Stills of food. The countdown clock for the opening of the restaurant. Sense of urgency being present throughout the entire series, and especially this season, especially when we see close-ups of Carmen's finger tattoos that have SOU, sense of urgency. The fast-paced kitchen, the way the chefs move so quickly. We hear and we see the quickness of the chef's words. Hands, behind, corner. We can feel and see how quick a kitchen moves and how quickly things can go from amazing to not so amazing in a matter of seconds. We see Carmen's panic attacks, for example, and how panic really seems to stop when Carmen imagines Sydney. Time is present when we hear and see the mantra, every second counts. We can't go one episode where this mantra is not making an appearance. Time is present when Sydney speaks about her mother, or when Carmen envisions his past and his mentors, or when we hear Let It Rip. And time seems to rewind as we, the audience, and Carmen, Richie, Fack, and Nat remember a time in which Mikey's voice roars and his laugh thunders instead of the constant chilling reminder that he is no longer with them. Time makes its presence known, whether we like it or not. And in season 2 of The Bear, time is something we simply cannot ignore. There's either too little time, too much time, the notion that this time will be different, the idea that it's never too late, time's up, for example. Time is something that haunts each and every character. So, too little time. We see in The Bear season 2 that there is too little time to open a restaurant. There's only a short amount of time from the conception of the restaurant to the actual opening of said restaurant. There's also super tight deadlines. We see this with the friends and family, the opening day, just getting things together. Our characters always seem to race for the clock. We see this time and time again, especially with the fire suppression test, for example. It was their last chance to get that right, and they were fighting, biting for more time. There's too little time to spend with loved ones. We see this particularly with Marcus and his mother. Marcus's mother is in a coma, and he's not sure whether she'll wake up and be better. He wants to explore the world. He wants to explore his passion of baking. He wants to improve his skills. But he also wants to be there for his family. He's torn between making every day count with his mother and putting himself first. He knows that his mother is on limited time, and he's unsure on how to make that time count. this time will be different. We see throughout season 2 of The Bear this notion that things will be different this time. We see it with Sydney and with Carmy with The Bear, that starting this new restaurant will mean something different for them. For Sydney, she hopes that starting this new restaurant with Carmy will be a way to redeem herself from her past failures. She doesn't want to fail again. And she hopes that this time it'll be different and that this time she will succeed. That's why we see her gunning so hard for wanting a star. And for Carmy, he's hoping that this new restaurant will be a way for him to get past his fear. His fear of failing and falling under stress and pressure of working and running a fine dining restaurant, especially after his stint in New York City with his hellish head chef. We see this with Carmy again, when he thinks that this time he'll be different. That he'll be different with the way he runs a kitchen, with how he loves, with how he expresses his feelings, with how he talks about Mikey and his mother. But though Carmy thinks that he'll be different this time, he really isn't. His lack of time management skills and his prioritization of skills still holds himself true in this season. He flakes on Sydney for their Taste of Chicago hang in episode 3 of season 2. He doesn't call the fridge maintenance guy after being told time and time again to do so. And he doesn't know how to balance a romantic relationship with his work relationships. We also see this running theme of how things will be different this time with their mom, in particular with Nat and Carmy, right? We hear, "Can I count on you this time? Not this time," throughout the season. And it's so prevalent with the conversation between Donna and Pete in the season 2 finale. Nat asks Pete if Donna will finally show up for her and Carmy at the soft opening, right? And Pete kind of outlines the odds of her showing up at the soft opening of the restaurant. We then see that Donna sneaks a peek of the restaurant through the window, and Pete spots her. He confronts her, and Donna says something along the lines of, "I don't deserve to see this. I'll see the restaurant, but Carmy and Nat, I'll see another time. I don't want to disappoint them again. Not this time." Also just find it interesting that, particularly with that scene between Donna and Pete, we are kind of put back into the place of where we were in the Fishes episode, where we see kind of Nat and Carmy shrink within themselves. They look like little children afterwards, you know? They seem like they hope one day that their mother will be this shining star for them, that she will be the mother that they always wanted her to be. And then we're put right back in this finale episode where we're reminded that things won't be different this time with their mom. Chef Terry says it best, "It's never too late to start over." We see this throughout the entire season 2 of The Bear. It's never too late to learn something new or to change and evolve. And we see this especially through Richie's arc. In season 1, we see that Richie is a man on a search for purpose. He's desperate to be somebody we're fighting for. In the first season, Richie clings to the beef, in a sense to hold on to Mikey's memory, but also as a way to kind of feel powerful and confident. Even though we know that in the first season, Richie was not entrusted with the responsibility of taking care of the beef after Mikey's death, Richie still feels some type of agency over the beef. He wants the beef to stay the same, to stay untouched. And he surely does not want to be a pawn under Carmy's rule, even though he knows deep down that Carmy is what's missing from the beef. And as season 1 ends, season 2 opens with a lost Richie. He's wandering aimlessly, trying to find purpose. He doesn't want to be the man that everyone thinks and assumes he is. He wants to be rid of the image of himself that's ingrained in everyone's mind. That's why we see Richie sent away to stage at the restaurant with Chef Terry, Olivia Colman's character. And it's so necessary that we see that. As Richie performs the task of drying forks, he gains discipline. He becomes motivated to be a good stage. He also is motivated to be somebody worth fighting for, to be a somebody, right? As Richie's responsibilities As the stage become more and more challenging, we see his interest is intrigued. He's so incredibly interested in the back of housework, right? He rushes to find deep dish pizza so the chef can make a delectable interpretation of deep dish pizza. He's ecstatic about working. He's excited about living. Something that we really haven't seen from Richie until season 2. By the end of his specific episode in season 2, he's found his purpose: to work at the bear and to bring the bear to its full potential. He is so motivated at the end of this episode. He sings Love Story by Taylor Swift in his car after a long shift to signify that he is in love with his new sense of purpose in life, you know? And at the end of Richie's episode, we learn as an audience that it's never too late to start over. It's never too late to find your passion. It's never too late to want to live. And I love this for Richie because we see it in such obvious but also subtle ways, like from him changing from t-shirts and slacks to now suits and ties to go to work. We see his shoulders more like rounded and prominent, you know? Like we see his voice is more confident. He has a little bit more boom to his voice. He is excited. He feels worthy enough to be around Carmy and around Sydney and around Nat. He's confident with himself because he finds this new purpose in life now. And one more example about how time kind of presents itself throughout the entire season of season 2 of The Bear is how Carmy himself is this ticking time bomb just waiting to explode, which he finally did at the end of the season 2 finale. So much of his emotions are bottled up inside, and it was only a matter of time before he erupted and caused damage. We see in season 1 that he goes to group therapy. He slowly talks about his feelings, but he barely touches the surface. His temper gets the best of him in season 1 when he yelled at Sydney and yelled at Marcus, which then caused Sydney to quit and leave her shift at the beef, right? In season 2, he expresses his feelings of failure with multiple characters, such as Sydney and Claire. He's worried about failing when it comes to the beef, or the bear rather. He's worried about failing in his relationship with Claire. As season 2 progresses, we see Carmy bottle up his feelings even more. And it's only in episode 6, Fishes, where we see a sneak peek of Carmy's fate. In this episode, Carmy's mother, Donna, is also someone who constantly bottles up her feelings. She takes out her anger, her pain, and her frustration out on certain characters, like Nat. But she never fully erupts, right? It's really only towards the end of the episode where we see the full force of Donna. She crashes her car into the dining room, and everyone is stunned. Carmy is in this like frozen state. He can't take his eyes on what just happened. He's trying to make sense of it all. This scene in this episode that beautifully foreshadows what happens in season 2, in this season 2 finale. Carmy, after being trapped for what seems like days, but it's only really a couple hours in that fridge, he finally erupts. He bangs on the fridge doors, he curses at Richie, he lets out every unkind word he knows. He stings. His words not only hurt himself, but he hurts Richie, and he hurts Claire, who just so happens to be there at the wrong place at the wrong time. She's like this incidental casualty in the crossfire of Richie and Carmy's fight, right? Like, Carmy is then left there sitting in the fridge with his face in his hands, and all he could think about is how much damage he's caused. Like mother, like son, Donna and Carmy are two sides of the same coin, right? Donna erupts, Carmy erupts. So time is everywhere within The Bear, but especially in season 2 of The Bear. I could go on and on and on with so many other examples of how time is so present within this season, with season 2 episode 6 of The Bear, where we have that one-shot filming technique, or the claustrophobic feeling of the episode, or the eruption of emotions, or how even that episode is a flashback episode. I could go into Tina's arc and how she has changed so much from season 1 to season 2, with feeling like she can accomplish new things and learn new things. I could go into Sydney, her relationship with her mother, her relationship with her father, her relationship with failure. I could go into it all, but I'm not gonna bore you with all these little details and things like that. But I do want to just say how time is so important within this season of The Bear. Time is something that we simply cannot avoid. We can't ignore it. And I love how in this season, the characters can't ignore it either. Time is always there, is always creeping around the corner. And I love that. If you liked this video, give it a like, leave a comment on what you guys think of time and how it's present throughout The Bear. If you have any other examples, drop them in the comment section. I'll love to see. And that's all. Thanks.